Hello, beautiful ladies, and welcome to today's video, where we're going to be reviewing all of the Quentin Tarantino movies we recently watched in our own Quentin Tarantino movie festival. So recently, Jacob and I decided that we were going to do a Tarantino festival because I hadn't seen...
we decided. It wasn't a unilateral husband decision to inflict upon my wife. It was totally a collaborative thing because you are totally the kind of person who would come up with the idea to put yourself through that.
Well, there was a little bit of me involved because I used to have a haircut that looked exactly like Uma Thurman's from Pulp Fiction. And people used to tell me that I looked like her from that movie and I'd never seen it. So I felt like maybe I should. So I kind of got dragged into it, but also I was okay with it.
And now 8 movies later,
I regret everything.
Yeah, your mild curiosity about one film that you had a haircut similar to has panned out in a brutal time-wasting fashion.
So because we watched all of these movies, we figured we would do 5-minute speed reviews of each film and put them up for you guys to see. So if you're deciding whether you want to watch a Quentin Tarantino movie, you'll have most of them reviewed by us.
Yeah, the only things we're leaving out are Hateful Eight and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Hateful Eight because we just cannot put ourselves through it. I watched it when it came out in theaters, and that was a real never again for me. And I'm not going to put my wife through that, even for the sake of a torturous joke. And then we recently saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and it's so fresh, doesn't feel like it needs the retread and review. You know, you'd give that thing its own review if you want, because it's so new, and then all the others, you get the retrospective anthology review. Yeah.
So we're gonna have a good time doing 5-minute reviews. I'm gonna have a timer in one of these corners here, and you guys will see the countdown. So it'll be a lot of fun, and let's get into it.
Let's establish some ground rules. Describing the movie does not count as part of the 5 minutes. It doesn't.
Oh, I was gonna say we just don't describe the movie then.
No, we gotta give a little setup. So, to start off, we have 1992's Reservoir Dogs, Tarantino's first movie. What's it about? A group of jewel thieves who try to do an operation together, steal some diamonds. It all falls apart, and so the movie is primarily just the aftermath of this jewel heist falling apart, guys accusing each other, you're a rat, you're the reason why it failed, and then just drama, ensemble cast ensues.
Yes. What did you think of this movie?
Starting the clock.
Oh, starting now.
Okay. I thought it was extremely along the lines of if you gave a competent high schooler the opportunity to film a stage play.
Yeah, it was very overrated. People talk about this movie like it's amazing. And you know what's weird is it's been a couple of days since we've watched it, maybe a week or so, and I kind of get why. After a certain length of time, you remember the snapshots of it, but actually watching it, no, it's not.
Well, that's
very
every
good.
Tarantino movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I really think that's kind of his thing, is that afterwards, after a little bit of time has passed, you remember the punchy moments, and so you're like, oh, I remember liking that movie.
Is Tarantino the memorable ex-girlfriend or boyfriend of film directors? In the sense that, like, you're watching it and you're bored because almost 90% or more of his movies is just dialogue you don't really care about in order to characterize without characterizing people you feel nothing towards.
Yes.
And then the few things you remember are his 2 to 3, it's always 2 to 3, stylish moments in the movie that are like, oh, that was a cool thing, which he probably stole from somewhere else because he's a massive film nerd who just cribs notes.
Yeah.
And then it's a week, it's 2 weeks, and they're like, yeah, that was a cool moment. Maybe you look it up on YouTube. Yeah, that was a cool moment.
Right.
And then you forget that the movie is an hour and 40 minutes of just boring nonsense otherwise, or 2 hours, then 2.5 hours, then 2 hours 15 minutes, then 3 hours of nonsense. The guy just keeps adding more and more into these movies, and there's still only 2 to 3 scenes that are good.
It's very odd, but what was striking to me, because this was the first of his movies, was 2 things. One was the sound felt like a recorded stage play. And I know this now because we've worked so much on sound for my channel that, you know, you kind of start to hear things when they're not as well done, and you can tell it almost sounds like he just recorded people on a soundstage, not really professionally. It was very weird. But then the other thing was that you don't ever get backstory. He considers backstory the, like, 10 minutes before the stuff in the movie happened, you know, not actual like
you do get your
of
flashbacks. So the movie
That's what I'm
is
saying.
Terribly paced. So the movie, you've probably seen it because it's super famous. If you haven't, you know, it's the jewel heist. It's gone wrong, and your first half of the movie is a bunch of the thieves that had managed to make it out, meeting up at the rendezvous and few guys arrive, then some more arrive, and they're talking, yelling at each other, oh, why did it all go wrong, accusing each other, I'm not a rat, you're a rat. And then drama ensues, one guy gets his ear cut off, another guy gets shot, and then we get flashbacks to, like, actually who some of these characters are. And the flashbacks do not characterize them well at all. You still feel nothing about these people whatsoever. But it's just all the tension and drama is the first half, and then you have really quite useless, narratively ineffectual, boring, just kind of backstory. One of the guys did turn out to be a rat on the crew, an undercover cop. And so you see, some tension for him, but we already know in the present tense, he's been gut shot, he's lying bleeding on the floor, and they don't suspect him really. So, like, I don't...
There's no tension.
There's no tension. We already know where you end up. You already successfully infiltrated the crew, and also we just don't really care.
What I meant about the flashbacks is that all of the flashbacks happen in relation with the other characters that we already know in the movie, so it's not getting to know each character on his own, have sympathy for them. It's getting to know how kind of they ended up in this specific moment, not how they ended up at this point in their lives.
Yeah.
And so I don't really care so much about these characters because it's just them in this specific moment, not in the broader scheme of things.
Something that's occurring to me right now is that Tarantino characters are utterly unsympathetic or unempathizable because they vaguely have a past for the sake of seeming interesting. Their present is usually just kind of unlikable nonsense, and they have no future. These people can exist out of, like, time or concern or a normal life. So here, none of these characters have anything going on in their world that I root for, that I care about, hopes, dreams, aspirations. They're just kind of there for the sake of delivering some dialogue. Oh, like, cool moment, you know, like a choice between, like, doing 10 years or blowing away some dumb jerk who's gonna get in your way trying to escape a diamond heist. Ain't no choice at all. Like, you know, I'm a professional, I'm gonna do what I want, but I ain't no madman either. Like, okay, I guess that's fine enough dialogue for that scene, but if it's the most we ever get out of guys like Mr. White, played by Harvey Keitel, or anything else, it's just, I felt nothing.
It was upsetting because you want to feel something by that ending. That ending should make you feel something, and at least for me, it was
40
like...
minutes of these people.
Yeah, at least for me, it was just kind of like, oh, okay.
Continue.
But so I thought that there was a lot that was left on the table with that movie. It didn't really live up to itself.
And that was Reservoir Dogs. Now we're on to Pulp Fiction. So Pulp Fiction, 1994. Again, an ensemble crime movie set in Los Angeles. Oh, where did he get that idea before? And so here it's even more disjointed, right? Reservoir Dogs was going to be heist movie, it went wrong. Here it's, again, an anthology series of short stories that are about a bunch of different characters across the LA underworld. A lot of vignettes. A lot of vignettes, and they intersect, and they don't intersect, and they're anachronistically ordered. So, yeah, you're going back and forth in time and across threads, and it's like stylishness, the movie.
Yes,
not
very
fashion.
Much so.
Oh my goodness, not fashion, but in terms of, like, self-consciously directing. Yes, wait.
Yes.
Oh, I think we're getting into opinion. Time to hit the clock.
Okay, let's go.
Boom.
So, here's what I thought about Pulp Fiction. It felt like the kind of movie that tickles your brain. You're like, oh, I remember that person from that vignette. That's cool. It connects. Doesn't mean anything? No. But,
wait, I'm sorry, we're talking about Pulp Fiction or all Tarantino movies? Does it mean anything?
No. Fair enough. But this movie specifically, I felt that. I felt like, oh, this is kind of fun because you're connecting the dots, because he's kind of like giving you little hints in each vignette of how they all connect, and that's kind of like entertaining, but it doesn't mean anything. And I feel like that's a big thing, exactly like you just said, in Tarantino films, is that there's all this style and there's all these things that he puts in, like when you open the briefcase, it glows. Oh, that's interesting. Why?
Well, it turned out they just kind of did that. And then later on, when one of the guys who's like the big producer on the movie was interviewed about it, because, oh my God, the fan theories that we've heard from people when we went on Twitter and said we weren't the biggest fans. Oh, but once you know what's in the briefcase, it's profound. And then it turns out that the people who made the movie said, oh yeah, it's whatever you want it to be. It's just a plot point. Like, we put a light in there because it was cool.
Right.
That's the level of the creator's relationship to this movie. But because the style and the way it's talked about feels so significant, people want to import meaning. But, like, this is like a bad English class where your teacher tells you the book is great and so just gives you an A if you validate that the book is great by coming up with literally any interpretation or meaning whatsoever, no matter how contrived, as opposed to, well, on its own merits, I don't think this has anything to say, and the guy has, like, a way with constructing sentences, but literally to no end.
Yeah.
And that's the thing here, is this movie, what I said to Abigail at the time when we were watching it is, this movie comes across like a guy who is technically hyper capable of achieving what he wants to in each scene. For example, the Jack Rabbit Slim's restaurant scene where John Travolta, Uma Thurman go out and they're like not date babysitting thing that Marcellus Wallace had him do. The way it's shot, the camera movement, the scene, it's all super competent. I can only imagine that what Tarantino wanted that scene to look like is exactly what it looked like. But it achieves it's for no reason. Right. This is a guy who, like,
Well, one of the things that I said, if it's okay.
No, it's not okay. I'm going to finish what I was saying. He's a guy who can do exactly what he wants to do, but he doesn't want to do anything worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that I was noticing during these movies is that I feel like he is an actor's director. He really likes sitting there and having people say their lines and getting into the nitty-gritty of why their character would say their lines, but like, why are they saying those lines? We don't
even get the nitty-gritty of why they'd say the lines.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
It's just...
They know, the actors know, and he as the director knows, but as the viewer, those lines are not meaningful to the story. They do not push the story forward, and honestly, in a lot of times, they don't actually even develop the character. It's just kind of like, this is how normal people talk. Let's capture it on camera. Okay, that's cool, but what's the point of that in the scheme of the whole movie?
So there's two comparisons I make here. So since these movies are almost all dialogue, the dialogue is super important and those scenes are super important for analyzing whether or not the movie works. I know, you're going to remember the scene with the adrenaline needle in the heart. Or you're going to remember the scene where Samuel Jackson says his badass fake Bible verse and then blows the guy away. But that's like 3 minutes worth of the movie and then it's 2.5 hours of just conversation otherwise. And the thing is, it's like if Seinfeld were written by someone with, like, no sense of humor, who, like, is one of those college students who wears, like, the edgy clothing and smokes cigarettes and thinks deep thoughts that aren't deep. Like, man, the world is messed up sometimes, but not even that. It's just, like... It's either that or it's like the group of college students who get high and have profound conversations and then think, this would make an amazing podcast, man. Because we're so funny, our dynamic's so good, and then they record it and it turns out to be terrible. There was an episode of That 70s Show where they all get high as a conceit in the show. They record themselves talking because they think we're going to, like, solve all the world's problems. We have such amazing thoughts. They play it back and it's just a bunch of high teenagers laughing at dumb nonsense. That's this. It's just like, your dialogue is nonsense.
It says
nothing. Royale with cheese. Yeah, I guess.
The only thing I'll say, positives. Samuel L. Jackson, I really like him as an actor.
Amazing.
He did a great job.
Yeah.
And Tarantino's definitely developing his style in this movie. Now, do I like his style? Maybe not. But this movie is definitely like a step up from Reservoir Dogs this is Tarantino. Yeah. We know who Tarantino is now.
No, it's a mature director here, not a mature artist, a mature director in terms of, like, nothing comes across as if he didn't try to get across what he wanted to.
Right.
Nothing comes across that. Whatever, I said it right. Nothing comes across poorly here. It's just that the guy doesn't want to achieve anything worthwhile. So, like, the movie is all a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing.
You have 5 more seconds.
Not a fan, not profound. Get over yourself, read a book. So, next movie is 1997's Jackie Brown. What is Jackie Brown? Because it's probably the least well-known Tarantino movie. I had never even
heard of it.
Yeah, I'd seen all of the Tarantino movies except Jackie Brown before this festival, and then we rewatched them. So, Jackie Brown is based upon, and I'm reading it here, a film adaptation of Elmore Leonard's 1992 novel Rum Punch. It is the only feature-length film that Tarantino has adapted from a previous work.
Interesting.
And it's meant to pay homage to 1970s blaxploitation movies. That comes across with, like, the music and the theming and the way it's shot, things like that. But plot of the movie, so it's the most straightforward, I guess, Tarantino movie. It's just a little crime heist story. Unlike Reservoir Dogs, where you get the aftermath and you jump back and forth. Unlike Pulp Fiction, where it's disparate little vignettes anachronistically ordered. Here it's a story that starts at one point in time, follows the characters doing things, and then reaches a resolution at the end where they have accomplished what they need to.
Yeah.
And that's it. So, super straightforward. So, now to commence with the review. Boom!
So here are my thoughts on Jackie Brown. It was entirely forgettable. I literally feel like I've forgotten it.
Are there stylish moments in the movie? I've seen people cut YouTube clips of Samuel L. Jackson saying AK-47 for when you absolutely have to kill every mofo in the room except no substitutes, which is in the first minute of the movie.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing else to remember from the movie. And that's to the degree that you remember that one line.
Right.
Now,
here's the thing. I think Jackie Brown is actually a good example of what I was talking about, where Tarantino proves that he is an actor's director, because everyone in the movie puts in good performances.
Yes.
And they're all good actors to begin with.
Yes.
So he really does work well with actors. It's just the story itself, I think theoretically could have been told well, but he's just so interested in that
himself?
Well, in that character-driven conversation, which isn't character-driven, but in those conversations, that it really slows down the movie, so there's just no pacing. He's not good at pacing.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's because he doesn't know what he's trying to achieve with the movie. He's just trying to put stuff on the screen that he'd like to see in separate moments, I'm guessing. Mm-hmm. The way it comes across with all this dialogue, with all this indulgence of the actors and being an actor's director, it's as if you made a movie designed to be a series of audition tapes for an actor's highlights reel. My portfolio includes this 5-minute sequence I can show you, where I have this conversation which you need no context for, has no significance outside itself, but gives me an opportunity to come across as affable, conversational, have an opinion on something, have some back and forth. It's just a constant opportunity for his actor friends or people he worships the craft of to do a series of moments. But they're all disjointed. The plot here exists, and there is stuff that runs through. It's just that I don't care.
Right.
None of the characters exist in a way that you grapple with.
I
and you connect
remember
to.
while we were watching it saying to you, I just don't feel the tension. In a way, the story felt so too small. Is that weird to say? Because normally with a heist movie, you don't feel like, oh, it needs to be huge, it needs to be enormous. But for some reason, this movie just felt too small. So I was like, the stakes aren't that high.
What we had said at the time is that it's too little plot. It's just an arms dealer played by Samuel L. Jackson with $500,000 that he has in a bank in Mexico, trying to get it over to the States so he can have his money. The ATF is trying to crack down on the guy and arrest him, and the main character is an airline stewardess that the arms dealer is using to funnel money back and forth. She gets roped in, she's coming up with a plan to outwit everyone and run away with the money herself, and it's that. So the tension in the movie is her plan going to succeed, and is the arms dealer, who does kill people, going to kill her? Does he have a massive organization? No, the operation's a dude and a half. Is there tension? Nah, she seems to have him under her thumb within the first 20 minutes of the movie, so then it's just characters doing things.
And also, I think this is the funny thing, and I'm realizing it now, it's that we don't know why she needs this money, really.
She got busted doing something earlier in life, has never been able to make a successful career of anything else, and so she's in her 40s doing a job that a woman 20 years her junior could do for the same pay.
Absolutely, but I'm saying it's not because she needs to support her family.
No, she has no family.
It's not because she needs to pay off all of these bills that she has.
No, she just leads a crummy life.
It's just a crummy life.
Not a terrible life.
Money.
Just a mediocre existence that's whatever. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't want that to be the case. So, plan to steal. And is Samuel Jackson, super intimidating? I mean, there's one moment in the movie where he might kill her, and then he doesn't, and that's the first 20 minutes, and so then he's kind of under her thumb throughout the rest of it. Mm-hmm. Samuel Jackson does a great job, by the way.
He's always great. Everything he's in, I love him.
He's great in everything, but his role in Tarantino movies, he is much of the time the best, most compelling actor on the screen. The problem is that he's given a lot of opportunity to act, but no story for it to matter in.
Yeah.
Also, his fashion sense in this movie was an assault upon the eyes.
I think it was fun, though.
Look up Samuel L. Jackson, scenes from this movie. He's got the ponytail, he's got a chin, little braid, a little rat tail. He dresses like a weird early 2000s golfer.
It's an odd
It's
thing.
amazing. It's terrible.
So one thing I'll say is that what I felt about this movie was that it was like taking the Tarantino out of a Tarantino
there were no Tarantino-isms in this movie.
Right, out of a Tarantino movie, so it still had the feet.
Car
conversations. It still had car conversations.
Had trunk shot.
It still had the trunk shot. It still had the long conversations that don't really give a great plot, but then it didn't have any of the fun stuff that you remember. So in all the other movies, you leave with, oh, I remember this really expressive part. Didn't happen in Jackie Brown. Not memorable. We're getting good at finishing on time.
Yeah, I mean, all I wanted to say was it was too much movie for too little story.
Yeah.
And it's just diluting it. Sorry, I'm going over the time limit.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I gotta say one thing. And it's just that it's like the equivalent of me doing this right now. If I could say something in 10 words and add a little bit extra on in terms of content over the course of 100 words, the lack of efficiency to saying it dilutes everything and makes it feel nothing. Mm-hmm. It's like when you say a point and you just keep going on, like right now, like what I'm doing right here. That's this movie just all the way through. That's why there was no tension. Just scene. And it just kept happening. Okay, next up we have 2003's Kill Bill Volume 1.
Yep. That's the one.
Okay, set up for this movie. So this one is, a friend had said it to me in terms of, this is like Tarantino's version of a samurai movie, whereas the second one is like Tarantino's version of a Western in some ways. But basic plot, there was a woman, played by Uma Thurman, called The Bride, who was a member, the top female member, of the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad, top assassin squad. She wants to leave them because she was pregnant. And they don't take it well, and they kill her and massacre everyone else who's at the church where she's gonna get shotgun married to like some poor rube. And she falls into a coma, she wakes up, and then she's gonna kill Bill and get her revenge. And the basic premise of the movie is she's woken up, she's getting things together, and then she goes on the hunt to hunt down the first of the set of members of the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad who betrayed her. And then the second movie is her finishing the job.
Yep.
And so now we're going to start the clock. Now.
Okay, so Kill Bill. I actually liked this one.
Yes, this is the first Tarantino movie that we enjoyed enough while we're like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That was an experience. We had fun at the movies watching this. It was not a great movie, but it was okay.
Yeah, Kill Bill was okay. You know, he had a story. He felt okay with the pacing. It didn't feel like there were a lot of these long drawn out conversations that I'm not a huge fan of. And he had kind of honed his style. Okay.
Well, I wouldn't say honed his style. I would say here, for once, the artistic objective he was accomplishing of just a straight-up revenge story was so focused because his characters couldn't have long, indulgent, like, friend conversations with each other in the same way that he couldn't do his natural impulse of have people spend so much on-screen time doing nothing.
Right.
Because the latter movies that we're going to review, sorry, for you all, the latter movies that we're going to do, he goes right back to, and I sold you on this as an action movie, so let's spend 50 minutes unbroken of boring conversation you won't remember. Ha ha!
Yeah, this was not that. And I liked that he what I mean by honed really is more just that he figured out what his style was and it worked with what this film was trying to do, I think, in a lot of ways.
Well, agree. Disagree that he has now figured out his style. I think he did that in Pulp Fiction. I think he was Tarantino as Tarantino's gonna be then. Mm-hmm. I think here it's just that he picked something that it worked well with and couldn't fit in and accommodate his vices, which are terrible, of the long, indulgent conversation we don't care about and the lack of characters.
That's fair.
Here, because it had to keep going, he was reined in.
Yes. And I think that the thing that makes it work for me and the thing that gives it tension is the fact that he made it so the bride lost her baby. I think that's what gave it the pull and the push to do vengeance instead of just, you tried to kill me, and it's a little bit more straightforward. If it's, you tried to kill me and now I want to take revenge,
it comes
you
across
killed my
as selfish
child.
If it's just about you getting revenge because you're an assassin garbage person who murders people, and so who cares if your assassin friends try to kill you? Whereas if you lost the baby and they were that brutal and they knew you had it and they killed you anyway, or tried to, oh, well, yeah, they're worse than you.
Yes,
so
exactly.
You have a right to mama bear at them with a katana.
And it's exciting. It's like, oh, great. Like, we're rooting for you, because...
And I'll give credit to Uma Thurman, because she's the emotional core of the movie. And for once, the first time, mark it, there was an emotional core that we would care about to a Tarantino movie.
We actually cared.
We cared, yeah. Uma Thurman's trying to get revenge, and... You said you weren't the biggest fan of Uma Thurman's acting in general, that you don't have the best impression of like her as an actress. I mean, I don't remember her from too much. Mm-hmm. It's like Tilda Swinton. I remember and don't remember her from anywhere. Also, they come across very similarly to me.
Interesting.
They're like
that's kind of funny. Tilda Swinton is, in my opinion, sorry if this is too much information,
Nordic
sexless.
ice people.
I would say Uma Thurman is not that.
To me. Whatever. Okay. Regardless, here Uma Thurman did a great job across both movies, but we'll talk about Kill Bill 2 for the next one. Here she did a great job just selling the rage and the energy and kind of like the coolness and confidence of being the top assassin, but not in too cartoony a way, even though her demonstration of being the top assassin is a cartoony nonsense fight.
I will say, I like the idea that it worked in this movie for it to be cartoony, because Tarantino leaned into the cartooniness of everything, and
except he did the Tarantino indulgence for that big fight
for the
scene,
actual,
which we'll get to in a moment.
So the negatives of this movie were two things for me that went on too long, because I think that Tarantino's not good at editing himself. One is the cartoon sequence.
Anime sequence.
The anime sequence.
O-Ren Ishii's background story.
Of how long that was. Yeah. And then the actual fight was way too long, in my opinion. The big fight
at the restaurant against the crazy 88s that just kept on going.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big fan of action movies. I've gotten Abigail into them a little bit. And so there's this Indonesian movie, The Raid, has a sequel. That's amazing action sequences because everyone can do choreography and fight. Here, not so. So it's like, oh, it's audacious, it's exaggerated, so much limb chopping and blood everywhere. But it's not like what the physical movements we're seeing are that cool or interesting. It's a lot of choppy, fast editing.
I think also...
And I was like, for so long.
It was very long. I think the thing for me is you can do a long fight scene if you still aren't sure that the good guy is going to win. So constantly you're like building the tension of, oh, they're going to get to the point where maybe they're going to lose. Once she starts fighting the 88 and she's winning everything, you're like, okay, now this is just 45 minutes of her winning everything.
Yeah, and the spectacle isn't that interesting because it's smack, smack, sword, cut, or just, oh, guy tries to do something, cut. It's not, like, physically impressive or interesting to watch, and so it falls flat. Okay.
10,
okay.
9.
Also, there's the problem, you're only as good as your villain. O-Ren Ishii's, like, the one she's hunting down, and then
and
Vivica
the whole
Fox.
movie, it's her.
Boring! There's, like, no character to them. You need your villains characterized. The sequel's much better in that regard.
My little extra thing for Kill Bill is just that I would recommend it, and I think it's fun, especially with the next movie together. I think they're a fun evening, and it's not like super deep or anything, but it is well done, fun to watch. Yeah, I would recommend it.
Okay.
That's it.
Samesies.
So if you guys enjoyed our speed reviews of these Quentin Tarantino movies, hop on over because we're going to finish the reviews on the Right Angles channel, my husband's channel. Yeah. And we're going to be doing that in his studio, on his channel, and we're going to be finishing them off. So.
Yeah. And so not only have I done reviews here with Abigail, but I also did a review of Parasite in my very first video that I did, and then also a review of the just abominable, despicable, disappointing, garbage, no good, very bad Witcher TV series, which was just a disappointing pile of mess. Since we played through the entire Witcher game together, we might do a review on it, and we've been listening to The Witcher on audiobook, and it's spectacular. And so with all of that background, you ruined it when you had a budget and Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm relitigating it right now because it was so disappointing.
Don't even listen to him here. Go onto his channel and watch it there.
And watch our follow-up set of reviews to this, the closer. Tarantino Volume 2 is going to be Kill Bill Volume 2. It's going to be Death Proof. It's going to be Inglourious Bastards and Django Unchained. And to reiterate, we are not doing Hateful Eight because that's the review in of itself. We can't bring ourselves to watch it. And then also Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, too contemporary, deserves its own review.
Let us know in the comments what you guys think of the movies we reviewed. If you agree with us, if you disagree, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Please subscribe to my channel and blog if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. Go ahead and hit that like button. Head over to my Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook and follow me there. Please head over to classicallyabby.locals.com if you'd like to support my channel, see more of this content, and be part of our community. And we'll see you over at the Right Angle for the next part of this review, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!